Welcome to Kronos Employee Self-Service Video Training. This video will take approximately 20 minutes to complete. What is Kronos? Kronos allows employees and managers to track time and attendance quickly and efficiently instead of managing through emails, spreadsheets, or SharePoint sites. Employees can easily access their schedule calendars as well as their department schedules. Allows employees to self-schedule, swap and cover shifts as well as request time off directly in Kronos. By the end of this training, you should be familiar with how to navigate Kronos, view your calendar, department schedule and coverage calendar. You will be provided instruction on how to create self-scheduling requests as well as how to swap and cover shifts. Review inbox functionality and lastly, retracting as well as approving or refusing swaps and/or covers. There are several ways to log into Kronos. Look for the Kronos icon on your desktop. There is also a Kronos link on CareWeb, under Applications on the right-hand menu. Log into Kronos with your linked Blue ID and password. Then press Enter on the keyboard or click the Sign In button. If you have issues logging in, please contact the service desk at 323-8586. We will do a brief navigation overview before creating time-off requests. Remember that your calendar will default as the primary widget and will display the current pay period in a weekly view. At the top of your calendar, there are several functions that allow you to change the view of your calendar. You can hover your mouse over items and a pop-up window will display the function of the item. If you want to change the time period displayed, you can select options from the pull-down menu or use the calendar button to select a specific date. Red blocks on the calendar signify available open shifts. Blue blocks on your calendar are your scheduled days to work. Green blocks are your leave requests. The Related Items pane on the right side contains additional widgets that are assigned to you based on your role. Click on a widget and it will open in a new tab in your workspace. If you want to close the tab, click the X in the upper corner of the tab. If you want to minimize the Related Items pane, click the arrow in the upper corner. Click the arrow again to reopen the pane. The bottom of your calendar contains support tabs for accruals, your department schedule and department coverage. If you would like to resize the sections, hover your mouse between the calendar and supporting tab section to get the resize icon. The department schedule and coverage tabs both contain filter options for how you want the data displayed. When finished with Kronos, always use the Sign Out function on the top left of the screen. Then close the browser window. Just closing the browser window will not sign you out of Kronos. Here are some important things to remember. Your manager is responsible for letting you know when the shift sign-up period is available, when your scheduling requests are due and when the final schedule will be posted. This information may be sent to you via your inbox in Kronos. Depending on your department, the sign-up period may be posted to staff based on seniority. Some scheduling requests may auto-approve and some may need to be approved by your peers or manager. If items need to be approved, your calendar will not update until the item is approved or refused. When the shift sign-up period is available, use the self-schedule request process to assemble your own schedule. First, select your time period from the drop-down list that matches the request period. This is normally the next schedule period. Click the More button in the upper right corner and select Request Self-Schedule. A grid appears that shows the available shifts that you could work. The grid contains several features that make it easier to view the available shifts. You can easily move between weeks in a multi-week schedule period by using the navigation arrows. Display shifts by time or label as well as change location. View your department schedule and coverage information by using the supporting tabs in the lower left corner. You can easily see who is working and if there is over or under coverage for the shift. Red arrows mean undercoverage. Blue arrows mean overcoverage. In the Self-Schedule Request grid, click the radio button next to the shift you want to work. Note as you select shifts, they appear in orange text under My Schedule at the bottom of the grid. If you need to clear a shift that you selected, click the radio button a second time. When finished, click the Submit button. After you submit the self-schedule request, it is automatically approved, but it is subject to change until the final schedule is posted. Hover your mouse over the item to see a pop-up details window. Next, let's talk about requesting an open shift. Always select the time period first, which will most likely be the next schedule period. There are two ways to request an open shift. The easiest is to use the red open block on your calendar, or you can go to the More button and select Request Shift. For this video demonstration, we will use the red block. The number of shifts available will display in parentheses. You can hover your mouse over the red block to view the shift start and end times. Check your department schedule and coverage tabs to see who is already working, as well as the coverage for the area. The arrows signify over or under coverage. Red arrows mean under coverage and blue arrows mean over coverage. When ready to request an open shift, hover your mouse over the red open block and click the circle arrow icon. Select Request Shift in the pop-up menu. In the Details window, ensure that the date is correct and then click the radio button next to the open shift you want to work. Some areas may use the partial shift functionality. Please check with your manager for those details. If needed, you can enter notes. When finished, click Submit. The request will appear in your calendar. Hover your mouse over the item to see the status in a pop-up window. Please note that depending on the department, the request may be auto-approved or may need to be approved by your manager. There might be times when you cannot work your scheduled shift, but you cannot take time off. You can send a request to an employee who is not scheduled to work and ask them to cover your shift. Select the time period needed in your calendar. Locate the date you cannot work by either selecting a pre-configured time from the drop-down menu or using the calendar to enter a date or date range. Next, review your department's schedule for possible coverage candidates. Remember, you can check other locations that you are assigned to from the drop-down list. You can also filter by job type to ensure that you only see coworkers who can work in the job you are scheduled. Make sure the option to hide unscheduled employees is unchecked so that you will see all employees. As a common courtesy, you can verbally check with the person you would like to have cover your shift before requesting, but the system will automatically notify and request approval from the employee upon submitting the cover request. When ready to create a cover request, select the date in your calendar first. Then click on the More button in the upper right and select Request Cover. Ensure that the date on which you cannot work appears. If you forget to select the date on your calendar before creating the request, use the Calendar button to select the day you cannot work. In the Time field, confirm that the start and end times appear for the shift you cannot work. In the Shift to Cover by section, review the list of available coworkers. You can click on the Employee column heading to sort them alphabetically. Select the coworker that you would like to offer the shift to by clicking the checkbox button next to their name. If needed, you can enter a message on why you need to swap. Click Submit. You will see the request displayed in your calendar. You can hover your mouse over the request in your calendar to get a pop-up window that shows the current status. The employee to whom you offered will receive an inbox notification. The employee can accept or refuse the request right from their calendar. When the request is approved or refused, the request status will be updated. You can also click on the circle arrow icon and select details for specific information on the request. In the next section, We will discuss how to request a swap shift, but first here are some things you need to remember. Before requesting a swap shift, select your time period and then review your department's schedule first to determine potential swap candidates. You can verbally check with the person you would like to swap shifts with before requesting as a common courtesy, but the system will automatically notify and request approval from the employee upon submitting the request. When ready to create a swap request, select the date in your calendar first. Then click on the More button in the upper right and select Request Shift Swap. Ensure that the date on which you cannot work appears. If you forget to select the date on your calendar before creating the request, use the Calendar button to select the day you cannot work. In the Time field, confirm that the start and end times appear for the shift you cannot work. In the Swap It section, enter the date you would like to work. You can also choose location or jobs to help filter potential employees to swap your shift. Review the list of available candidates. You can click the column headings to sort the list. Select the employee you would like to swap with by clicking the radio button next to their name. If needed, you can enter a note on why you need to swap. Click Submit. You will see the request displayed in your calendar. The employee to whom you offered the swap will receive a notification in their inbox and can accept or refuse the request directly from their calendar. Depending on your department, that request may or may not need to be approved by your manager. Once the item is approved or refused, the status will update on your calendar. Hover the mouse over the request to see status pop up. The My Inbox widget allows you to send messages to others as well as receive any messages concerning your requests. Inbox messaging is similar to email, but these messages are all contained within Kronos. Click the My Inbox widget in the Related Items pane to open the widget in another tab. You can select a message from the list and then use the Open, Reply, or Delete buttons. You can also double-click the message to open it in a new window. If you have received a request to swap or cover, you will get a notification in your inbox as well as the request will populate on your calendar. Click on the My Inbox widget. Double-click on the notification to see details about the request. Then go to your calendar, select the date or date range to locate the request. Hover your mouse over the request to get a status and details pop-up window. Click the circle arrow icon. From the menu you can accept or refuse the request. The details option will display the same information that was in your inbox notification. If you need to cancel a swap or cover request, you can retract the request if it is still in an offered or submitted status. Locate the request in your calendar. Hover over the request with your mouse and click the circle arrow icon. Select Retract in the pop-up menu. Enter a note if applicable and click Retract. The request will now show as retracted in your calendar. We will now ask you some questions to see what you remember. What should you select before you create a scheduling request? You need to set your calendar to the applicable time period to make schedule requests. Where do you review your department schedule and coverage? The supporting tabs in the lower left corner of the screen contain your department schedule and coverage information. What button do you select to create a self-schedule request? Once you have changed your time period and checked your department schedule and coverage, select the More button in the upper right corner. From the pull-down list, select the Need Schedule Request. How do you check the status of a request? Hover your mouse over your request to display the status pop-up box. How do you check your inbox? Click on the My Inbox widget in the Related Items pane. The Inbox widget will open in another tab. How do you accept a swap or cover request? Hover your mouse over your request and click the circle arrow icon to display a pop-up menu where you can select Accept if you are interested. We have Kronos instructional documents that can be printed for later use on the IT Education SharePoint site. In your browser, type this web address, it.ukhc.org/education. Click Documents in the left-hand menu, then select the Training Materials and Handouts folder. Select the Kronos Training Materials folder to see all available documents. Thank you for watching. You have now finished the web-based training for Kronos self-scheduling. For more Kronos training, see my UK training WBTs for Kronos Basic Navigation and Kronos Time Off requests. Please call the service desk at 323-8586 if you have any questions.